Prince of Darkness is a 1987 horror film directed by John Carpenter, one of my favorite directors of all time. It stars Donald Pleasence, who you might remember as Dr. Loomis in Halloween or as the President of the United States in Escape from New York. It also stars Victor Wong and Dennis Dun, who are both from one of my favorite movies of all time, Big Trouble in Little China. With all of these elements in place, you might think that Prince of Darkness is a great film. Sadly, though, that is not the case. To explain why it fails as a film, I first have to explain the film's incredibly bizarre and quite possibly insane plot. Alright, very quickly. Jesus Christ and Satan are both extraterrestrials, and Satan is really a liquid that is green, that is kept in a jar, that the Catholic Church has kept hidden for thousands of years, because if the liquid is released, it could summon the anti-god who could destroy all of reality. Got that? Good. So, Donald Pleasence plays a priest who contacts a professor, played by Victor Wong, who gets his students to come into this church and study this jar of liquid, which of course parts of it get out and turn people into zombies, except for one person who gets turned into the vessel of Satan or whatever. It's a weird, weird movie. And then it ends. Some of the problems that I personally had with this movie are that the power of the Satan, I guess, is never truly explained. It can turn people into zombies, it can control insects, and then suddenly it has telekinesis. And then the other problem is just the plot is so difficult to follow that even when individual scenes work as horror set pieces, there's really no emotional investment to any of it because none of it really matters. Compare this to a much better Carpenter film, The Thing, which also touches on some of the same themes in terms of bodily invasion and the end of the world. In fact, Prince of Darkness is kind of an oddity both in terms of the films it came after and before, and where it fits in Carpenter's self-described apocalypse trilogy. First, the film that came before this was Big Trouble in Little China, a light-hearted kung fu action-adventure film. And the film that came after this was They Live, a sci-fi action satire of Reagan-esque greed and yuppieism. This film is almost a cosmic horror or religious horror story in the vein of H.P. Lovecraft. Now, I mentioned that there's an apocalypse trilogy in Carpenter's filmography, and it goes The Thing, Prince of Darkness, In the Mouth of Madness. The Thing is the biggest outlier there because it is not strictly speaking a cosmic horror story, instead being a science fiction story about a shape-shifting alien. In the Mouth of Madness is actually the better surreal horror story in between Prince of Darkness and that film, because that film actually has some very clever metafictional touches, as well as being more obviously influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, up to and including a cameo by Cthulhu. This film, on the other hand, just has some green goo, and some admittedly decent effects when one woman is possessed by Satan. But overall, none of these characters are really people that you have any feeling or connection for, and that really works to this film's detriment, because there's so many of them, and so many of them are killed off so early, you just don't care. An interesting note, speaking of characters, is that when the homeless people are possessed by the green goo, one of them is in fact played by Alice Cooper, not Ozzy Osbourne as I was expecting, giving the title, because he's the Prince of Darkness. Overall, I can't in good conscience recommend Prince of Darkness as a good movie. But it is an interesting movie, even in terms of how bad Carpenter can be, even if this isn't his worst. It's an interesting oddity, but not a great film.